up and then I'll upload it.
I can
Later.
subscribe. I mean, I haven't yet. I really
Yeah, subscribe. I mean, after we get 50 subscribers or so, I think at least like we're recognized, like by YouTube, so they'll actually, like, we'll actually show it to other people.
I can subscribe. Okay, let's do this.
Yeah, I'll post the live stream on the Facebook. But yeah, no discussion. Yeah, that discussion was it was actually pretty good. It was a fun discussion. It was a fun discussion.
Did you take anything away from it? Change your mind at all about anything?
I out of the top of my head, I don't think so.
You caught me with my mouth open. Nice. We're both of our mouths are open.
That's true. Yeah. But yeah.
Change your mind at all about anything? Oh wow,
Yeah,
it's delayed. I can see myself talking.
That's normal, but take the sound out because if not, we're gonna hear the echo. You gotta put it on silent.
Okay, I just subscribed.
Awesome. So we have
Bruno Franco Neto. Yeah, bro. Is that how you say it all? Did I say it right?
Oh yeah, but yeah, unfortunately, you just subscribe to like my personal channel, but then you're gonna have to subscribe to the Talking Movies one.
Shit, how do I get to that?
We'll do it at some other point. Just Google Talking Movies on YouTube because that's what I was talking about. That YouTube doesn't let me stream it to the Talking Movies right now because you have to do it like 1 or 2 days in advance. So go to Talking Movies.
TALKINGMOVIES.
That's right.
Nothing. I mean, I see us live on the search, but I'm supposed to search from Google or YouTube?
YouTube.
Yeah, I don't see it, man. it's not there. What's the best film of 2013?
It's cool. I'll send you the podcast because I'll send you the podcasts like some of our other podcasts and the new podcasts, and I'll send it to you, and then you can click on it, and then that's gonna lead you to Talking Movies. Because that's the thing, if you don't have subscribers, you can't even find it on YouTube, not even if you're looking for it.
I found it. I subscribed.
So that's what I'm talking about, because that's why people are not seeing us, because they don't. There's no possibility for them to see it. So
yeah,
that's why we need like at least some subscribers, because if not, people are not going to watch it. I mean, it's still fun though. I mean, but I'm hoping that people will watch it at some point.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying this. This is a fun Sunday night thing.
This is my favorite thing in the week, honestly, most weeks. I really enjoy watching a movie and talking about it with you guys. Like, yeah. It's fun, it's like it's like a really fun activity for me, other than just making the podcast. But I've been having fun. And this is my friend Dan, and Dan, this is my friend David.
Hey, dude.
You guys don't know each other, but you'll become friends because we're doing this every week, so you'll become cinephile friends.
Hey man, you want to go ice fishing with me later, like this week?
There you go. David is very, very friendly.
Let's go ice fishing, man. Let's do it. Just you and me. A full day. I'm not actually a fan. I'm one of those like.
That's the spirit. That's
super. I don't know what the word is here. Poser. I'm a poser. I just like the colors and the way it brings out my eyes.
I've never gone ice fishing, so we should definitely do it. We should one day we should go, like all the movie podcast people. We should go, like all 4 of us. We should go ice fishing.
Let's do it
after we get to know each other. I mean, I know you guys, but you guys don't know each other.
I wouldn't. Do you ski, Bruno? Are you a snowboard skier at all?
When I was a teenager, I was a skier, but I probably forgot.
I
snowboard, but I haven't done it that much in the last 4 or 5 years. Like month space in the last 5 years.
And I did snowboarding just once, and I loved it. But I mean, I'm for sure I don't remember it by now. I mean, I did it once when I was a teenager because I did skiing. But once snowboarding, to be honest, is a lot more fun than skiing because I did it once and I liked it more than any of my time skiing.
I grew up on Hood, like the foothills of Mountain Hood, like a proper mountain, and so I grew up snowboarding. It's part of my soul, and it's been like 3 years since I've been on a mountain, and I gotta go this year. So I'm collecting people that want to go out to like Vail or Breckenridge or something. I've never been to Colorado to ski. I've always been on the West Coast.
I did Pagosa Springs in Colorado 12 years ago.
It's beautiful. I think I really, really, really want to try surfing. I think that's probably just as cool, but there's nothing quite like threading down like a nice powdery slope, man. Oh my gosh, that's beautiful.
I think Colorado is where you get that good powder. Here in Minnesota, it's not as, and plus the slopes are not as great. But
yeah, Minnesota hills are cool. Every time I've tried to go snowboarding here, it's been like -3. It's just not fun.
Is it possible to do snowboarding or skiing in Minnesota?
Yeah. Depends on how you define skiing or snowboarding.
So like pretty shitty snowboarding and skiing, basically.
You're on a board and you're on snow/ice.
Okay, so that kind of skiing or snowboarding.
There's definitely places where they have them. Last place I went was in, I think, Afton, and it wasn't too bad. We could always just go north of Canada.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Yeah, I'm probably too poor these days now that I have a kid and everything.
Hey, Bruno.
Yeah.
You ever play that Among Us game?
I played it with the philosophy people once, but I honestly I didn't enjoy it because like I didn't really get the point of it, and it was really not fun. I mean, playing with them, maybe it's like fun in a different setting, but that particular day it was not fun. No, honestly,
I mean, you have to lie a lot.
It was stupid. Like I didn't enjoy it.
I played it for about 5 hours last night.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So it can be fun.
You know, once you get to know the people you're playing with, and you sort of figure out their trends and sort of suss out their like indications, and you know, like we always know if a certain person dies within the first 10 seconds, we always know who killed him.
Oh, really?
This guy that's his goal, is to always get that one guy.
I haven't played it yet. Dan, do you want to play on Thursday?
Oh, hey, Ron.
Or do you only play with your crew? Because it sounds like it's kind of a personal thing.
I have multiple. It doesn't matter who I play with. I could probably if you find you guys play on you use Discord as your chat. Yeah, sorry, that's my dog, Ronnie.
Hey, Ronnie, he's a cutie.
Yeah, Ronnie, stop.
He's having a good time back there. Yeah, I'm planning on getting people together on Thursday that want to play. So
you guys play on Discord with because that's usually how I do it with people. It's like
yeah. I just built a Discord server with a friend, and we're gonna turn it into some sort of like game night thing. So during the Rona, we named the Discord Rona something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm a part of a lot of those Discords. I mean, there's at least 4 or 5 of them that almost are dedicated to Among Us or Phasmophobia or any other like good just group of people kind of games. Fall Guys.
Phasmophobia?
Yeah.
I've never heard of this one.
It's a ghost hunting game.
And is it fun?
Yeah, you know, it's a different kind of fun.
Okay, scary fun.
Yeah. It can be pretty scary because you're hunting ghosts and they'll start hunting you.
Wow.
I mean, I'm gonna make a quick call to Ian to see because he's not replying on Facebook.
It's a longer movie. It's 2 hours and 15 minutes or so.
It is the longest movie.
If you didn't start if you didn't start exactly at 8, you might still be in near the end.
Okay, so we'll give it 5 minutes and I'll give him a call.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I started a lot earlier today. I think I started at 6 or something like that.
I started a little bit late because the app for HBO Max for me, like every once in a while, it forgets that I'm a subscriber.
Oh, really? It doesn't do that to me. I do it with the PlayStation 4. I've never been logged out.
Maybe I should. I mean, it's funny. I have the PlayStation 4 there. I have it on the NVIDIA Shield because I like that device. But
yeah, do it with the PlayStation. It works just fine with the PlayStation. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how big of a deal is it that you have to log in. But
it is like a first generation Shield. It is a bit buckier.
Okay, Ian said that he just finished.
Okay, that's what I figured. I mean, it is a longer movie. I mean,
yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't realize that it was long. But I
well,
guess
it was in an era where movies, not necessarily. I remember like even because that was the same year it was with Star Wars Phantom Menace. I don't even remember that being 2 hours long. But The Matrix was like pretty long.
Okay, well that's.
I could be wrong though. Let me look that up. If I'm wrong about Star Wars, this is getting off to a great start.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Star Wars is long, to be honest. I think you're right. I think it's like 2 hours, something like that.
Yeah, just under 2 hours. So The Matrix is about 20 minutes longer.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds about right.
Yeah. Sorry, Ronnie is clearly enjoying the blanket in the middle of the room. That's her spot in my office. Ronnie.
It's cool, man. This is really relaxed. We're just gonna chill here and talk about The Matrix, man.
Ronnie, do you want to greet everybody? Can you howl?
Hi, Ronnie.
Not in a howling mood. She's normally she can show off her pipes, but.
Uh-oh. I can hear the baby. I think the baby woke up. This is not good. It's 10:30. It's not a good thing.
That's pretty late.
Well, the baby kind of has the only routine that the baby has is that the baby actually goes to bed at night. So for the baby to wake up at this time, it's not great. I'm sure Beth is upset. Because that's the only time the baby sleeps, basically. But yeah, I had actually watched The Matrix today, not today, this year during the coronavirus lockdown. So it was pretty fresh in my mind, but I decided to watch it again because it's what we're doing. So, and I don't mind watching The Matrix. I've probably seen it like 20 times. It's in my top 3 movies. It's in my top 3 of all time. The other 2 I think are Fight Club and Watchmen.
Yeah,
but The Matrix is definitely in the top 3.
To me, it's a movie that I really enjoyed going back to because when I originally watched it, you came away like amazed at the story, the visuals, and they still. What's great is that they still hold up. But now going back to it, knowing more what we know about the movie now, and a lot of things that for someone like me I didn't pick up, but looking at the symbolism and a lot of stuff in there now is just a lot more fresh now. There's a lot,
and Ian just joined us. Joined
what's up, guys?
Hello. Ian is like our wise monk with the glasses.
So I absolutely love this movie.
But we still haven't started, Ian. Just so you know.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, you can tell. We'll have to figure out when we're gonna start recording. Should we start recording now, or should we? Do you want to say something before, guys?
No, I'm ready to.
Maybe I should get my dog out.
Oh no, dog is fine. It's a good looking dog. It's fine. I'll just record. I mean, it's fine. It's like we got 2 viewers for the last podcast. We usually do better. We usually do like 20, but nobody watched the Snowden podcast for some reason. All right,
20 people.
Maybe we'll put her face on the picture, and that'll That'll get all the dog lovers.
Okay, should be recording now. Yeah, Ronnie is gonna get us lots of new viewers, subscribers. People are gonna love Ronnie. She's gonna be the mascot of the group.
Title of the
She
video.
can't say anything. She didn't watch
Dog
it.
listens to movie analysis.
Yeah, Dog listens to movie analysis. Dog makes movie analysis. So today we're gonna talk about The Matrix. This is episode 5 in our podcast series, Talking Movies, and we're gonna talk about The Matrix today, which I'm very excited about because it's one of my favorite movies of all time. What about you guys? What do you think?
Yeah, I absolutely love it. So I'm going to start off. Are we recording right now?
I've already started school.
Oh, perfect. So I'm going to start off right off the bat. So this movie came out in 2001. The Wachowski brothers are no longer known as
1999.
Okay, 1999. They're known as the Wachowskis. They have since transitioned, and they're both women who use she and her pronouns. And this entire movie is a trans allegory. So let's take it from there.
Yeah. So coming back to the movie, coming back to this movie, knowing that now, like I hadn't watched it in many years as much as I loved it before, and just like looking for all the different little details they put in. So in response, even to Warner Brothers telling them things like they couldn't make Switch a character who was male in the real world, but in the Matrix would be female, to sort of be more of an
no, but Switch is a girl, right?
Right, but initially the idea for that character was to be sort of a direct allegory of where their headspace was at the time. And
so what did they want to do? They want to switch to be one gender in one world and one different gender in the other world.
And have two actors.
Oh, two different actors.
And so where one would be male and the other female to sort of be direct. But all like the little things, like in the very beginning when Neo expects Trinity to be a guy, and she says a lot of men do expect it. You know, it's all the little things and all the way down to the big thing, like the I Am Neo scene. It's just
right where he gets dead named and he realizes that like he's choosing his identity.
And so
that's
like
the moment that clicks.
It's a moment that like lives so much stronger now.
And the Switch character, you're saying that's interesting because the Switch character, you can definitely notice that today, looking at the movie today, it's kind of what's the word? Androgynous. He or she? No, it's a she. She looks very androgynous. Like it's obvious that she's a woman, but there's definitely an androgynous like quality to her. So they still got something in there, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, if you even want to go back to like the famous red pill, blue pill scene, so the red pill that gives you enlightenment. In 2001, estrogen pills were red pills, so it's directly a metaphor.
Really?
Yeah, it's directly a symbol for estrogen.
I didn't even catch that.
Well, I had no idea.
Obviously, that's so meta.
Yeah, that's very meta. Is that a real thing? Not a real thing, but is that a known thing that it's that was their intention making the movie? That was pretty much in their mind, that it was supposed to be that kind of metaphor, or is this them going back or people going back now that we all know the situation with them? But is this something that we're talking about now, but it wasn't necessarily their idea back then? I mean, what have, because I don't know, like what did they say that that was their intention back then?
So as I understand it, it was they're now Lily and Lana Wachowski, and Lana came out in 2010. And when did the trilogy finish up?
It was not I would say probably 2003 or something like that.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, it was the early 2000s.
Yeah, it was definitely early 2000s, and the sequel is interestingly enough, they came out the same year. I don't.
Oh yeah. Okay, I'm doing a little Google on it, and you're right.
I think it was 2003, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I was guessing, but yeah, I guess I got it right.
So I think they have come and said now, and been more elaborate. But I think for years people have picked up on it, and it slowly built up to it. Like before they officially came and said that this is what it was. I remember watching a YouTube series that like really dived into it, and that was my first sort of mind blown moment of like, I never noticed. I mean, obviously, it was not that allegory wasn't meant for me, or at least not from my experience. But now that I know, it's such a much more beautiful thing. And so like, but they did come, I think, later. It's more recently and just explicitly say, yes, that's where our headspace was at. I mean, and specifically the Switch character is one they talk about where Warner Brothers wouldn't let them have the two actors at the time. So
It's interesting because there's another movie. I think it's the movie that they made after The Matrix, Cloud Atlas.
mm-hmm.
And that Cloud Atlas movie, I'm pretty sure I've seen it a long time ago, but I'm pretty sure the same person basically becomes different people throughout time. And sometimes you're a woman, sometimes you're a man. Basically they live all these different lives throughout the movie. So they do explore that idea of someone being both male and female in different iterations of their lives in that other movie. I don't know if you guys have seen that other movie. It's kind of a weird movie, but
I haven't seen it. But is that with Eddie Redmayne?
I think so, but I've seen it a long time ago because that movie probably came out 2010, maybe even earlier than that, and I've seen it only once, so it's been a while.
But yeah, sorry, I've talked a lot already. I was gonna say, David, if you have something to add, we haven't really come to David yet.
And he left.
Well, David,
my computer's low on power. I got to power that up. Sorry, guys.
Oh, it's fine, man.
There's a scene in I'll say this real quick. Oh no, I can't say it real quick because I don't remember what I was gonna say. I'm gonna power my computer and maybe that will recharge my.
Okay, we'll come back to you on that thought.
Sure.
That sounds good, man.
So I think one of the less talked about pieces is the concept of discovering your own identity through the internet,
mm-hmm.
which is basically what Keanu Reeves' character Neo does, right? So by day he's Thomas Anderson, and the entire rest of his life is being Neo. And that I think that particular experience is something that a lot of trans people have internalized as something that's easy to identify with, right? Because a lot of people are able to realize that they want to be or need to be, a different version of themselves and embody that accordingly. Mostly through online interactions, especially these days, where you have the ability to, choose what communities you interact with and be able to reach a more specific community. I think that's something that is really unique about this movie, right? Like as Neo finds himself becoming Neo, it's doing so through a new community that he chose to interact with.
Yeah, it's interesting that there is this aspect to this movie, the transgender thing, that obviously was very much in the mind of, allegedly, of the creators. If it wasn't directly, I'm sure it was a big influence in some way for them, because obviously that's a big part of their identity. But I mean, it's interesting how so many people love this movie, like myself, and it's not necessarily because we think about transgender people. It's just a movie that works so well for allegories and quotes. Just the I guess the basic idea of the movie that reality, there's something that if there's something wrong with reality, maybe reality is not as it seems. Maybe there are different levels of reality. So that basic allegory, I mean, that you can apply that to everything, right? You and Plato was talking about this 2,000 years. No, that was 3,000 years ago. Plato was almost 3,000 years ago. Plato was discussing the allegory of the cave, right? All these people were stuck in a cave, which is essentially the Matrix, Plato's Matrix, and looking at these things, and those things were approximations of the things that exist in real life. So they weren't actually looking at real life. And so this is a very powerful allegory that has been done in different ways, but it just works so well in this movie. It works so well in this movie.
I think that's
totally.
I was gonna say I agree. Like I think that's what the power of the story of, just in general, of choosing, being who you are and true to yourself. Like the power of that kind of narrative, I think, resonates with a lot of people, regardless of where it's coming from. But it's just it's easy to see now why it became such a focal point for people who struggled with that, with identity.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the core of the movie, the single thing that the movie asks you to do is question physical limitations and examine how that can be changed with your mind.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The entire concept of everything being able to be controlled via your mind, regardless of whether or not it's physical. I think Morpheus's line is, some rules can be broken, some can be bent.
Mm-hmm. And every scene, that scene is fantastic. That's the Kung Fu scene, right?
Yes.
I mean, that scene is so good. That's the thing. This movie is so, not only it's very philosophical, and it's a very powerful allegory. It's basically a nerdy version of Plato, but it's also so quotable. Every scene is very tight. I mean, every scene of the movie is absolutely fantastic. I was watching the movie and I was thinking, like, I've seen this movie 20 times, but every scene is so well done, and it leads so well into the next scene. And like pretty much everything that they say is quotable, especially Morpheus. When Morpheus is talking, I mean, that's a quote. And people have been using the lines that they use in the movie it's kind of a Shakespearean thing, because it's become part of the vocabulary of people, especially the blue pill, red pill thing. That's become like really widespread. I don't think that was really a thing before.
Not all.
I think there's I find a special kind of irony when you consider certain communities on the internet, like incels and like far right QAnon, that readily adopt references to this series, right? Like all these people, like red pillars, and
r the red pill, I think, is the subreddit.
Yeah, r/red pill is the subreddit, where it's mostly just all these neckbeards and incels who are upset with life and think that they're extra enlightened over the average normie. I think it's just like so fantastically ironic, in the most poetic way, that those of all people are the ones who have co-opted the analogy from this movie based on what the movie itself represents.
Yeah, I think that's just part of
that's a weird one.
The dark side of the internet is that we discuss how there's the finding one's identity, and then there is the dark side of that too, unfortunately.
Yeah, because the whole blue pill, red pill has become I didn't know this until I read about it pretty recently, but apparently it's a pretty widespread. It has widespread usage in some internet, like alt-right groups or something like that, right? I mean, it's kind of a bizarre thing. I don't understand why, but it's just, yeah, that's kind of ironic. I don't know. It's kind of a weird thing.
David, were you able to gather your thought from before?
Yeah. So I went touring around Europe this last winter in Berlin. they take you up to this really interesting structure. It's like these coffin-sized pillars that stick out of the ground, and it's on this really wavy ground, so they're all different heights and different sizes, and it's a tribute to the world. It's the World War II memorial, which, being in Berlin, is kind of like it hits a little harder, I guess, because that's where kind of all it's right next to the Nazi like headquarters and Hitler's bunker.
It's where everything started and where everything ended.
Yeah, and I was I was trying to do Europe on a budget, so I did a lot of the free walking tours, and I ended up doing like 3 in downtown Berlin. It was the same area, but you sometimes you get different guys that tell you different stuff, and you kind of learn more. But every single one of those tours, the guy said, "What do you think it means?" And every single one of those tour guides said, the artist intentionally never gave an interpretation of his work because he wanted the people to determine what it meant to them. And I have all the respect in the world for these ladies that are telling us what to think about this movie, but I'm really interested in hearing what you guys think the movie meant as well. So
yeah, I think that's a good point. I was actually thinking about that as well. This is one of those movies that really raises the question, right? Exactly what you just said. Now, can art be what's most important about art, right? Is it the intention of the artist that created the art, or the interpretation of the person that then looks at the art afterwards? Because that's a very interesting question in aesthetics, in my opinion.
And I think until recently they had left it to that because it was understood by people who had accepted, what it meant for the Wachowskis personally, even if they weren't public about it, as the allegory that it stands for them. And I think it's mostly just like they've probably been just asked about it so much, and where they are in their lives, they're finally comfortable talking about it. And so that's why I found, like, with the rewatch, and I can find things now that I didn't see before. But it's not something that is like deterministic on what the movie means to me. It just sort of adds to it. It adds to the many layers that, this movie does have.
Yeah, to me, go ahead.
It solved the discussion about the transgender identity and switching thing did solve a problem that I was having in my head, which is the protagonist usually figures out who they are and what their mission is, like, as the plot goes. Most storylines, the protagonist doesn't know that they're the hero, but in this one, they tell him right away. They're like, "Hey, you're the chosen one," and he's like, "What? What are you talking about? I'm a computer hacker in New York City. Like, what do you mean?" And the whole movie, he's having to come to terms with the reality of the actions he's going to have to decide to take, as well as the belief that he can do it. And I've never really thought about switching my gender, but maybe that's kind of like what they're experiencing in that space, is like it's the admission or the willingness to actually do the change, at the same time that it's the mental psychological component of believing that you are the other thing. Like there might be a split there that most of, I don't know what the proper PC way to refer to us is, heteronormative people are. I won't get to experience that. Maybe the Matrix is the closest I get to experience what a transgender person is going through. So good for us, good for them. Way to share the internal struggle of that.
I definitely think there are better ways to experience what trans people go through on a daily basis than the Matrix. There's some fascinating documentaries. Paris is Burning is one that comes to mind. I would highly recommend that. But as far as, to your point, David, what the movie meant to me, I really, on my rewatch, because I don't think I've watched this movie since 2004 or so. I watched this movie originally on my iPod Video.
Huh. Yeah.
So that's how far back it goes. The scene with Morpheus and Agent Smith, where Agent Smith is talking about how he sees humanity as a virus, and the concept of owning humanity based on who thinks, I found to be really interesting, because it really raises a lot of points in the day and age of automation and AI as being, an upcoming era for humanity. I think that's something that is very relevant right now. Right? Like, are we losing agency over humanity as we surrender our autonomy to automation?
Well,
I mean, that discussion between Morpheus and
I
Agent,
know that's a honey scratcher of a melon doodle, but it's a good one.
that discussion, or at least that monologue that Agent Smith has with Morpheus, is one I think that has spawned a lot of studies, because I mean, there's so much to unpack there between, like, the people who will rightfully look at that and say, like, well, there's some environmentalism within that. Then there's other aspects as well. It's, again, not to equate the violence and the sheer, like, authority, like, that they're applying to it, but that, like, I know, like, within this year when, we had the whole shutdowns from the pandemic, and all of a sudden, rivers in Italy were cleaner when people weren't out, like the air quality had improved, and like there was all these things people are saying, was Agent Smith right? Like, I saw a couple of memes of those going out. Was that out in like March and April of this year? And I was like, wow, that's making a comeback.
Yeah, that's the great thing about this movie, is that it really has so many different scenes that bring out like really good points about about life, about the universe. And that speech is fantastic. That monologue by Agent Smith is fantastic. And the sad thing about that monologue is that, in a sense, he's right. We are the villains in a sense, and they are the heroes. In a sense, they, by exterminating humans, another species would do the planet a favor. Obviously, when you look at what happened to the planet in the Matrix, it's actually not true, because there was a big war and the planet is all fucked up. So I guess it wasn't really the case that the planet was saved, but it is true that the way we behave, and we're obviously mammals, but we are very destructive. We're a very destructive breed of mammals, and we do have this pattern that it's true, we have a virus-like pattern. We destroy, we go places, we multiply to an extent that is not sustainable, and we destroy the place that we live in, and then we have to find a different place to live in. And this now might apply to our planet and other planets. We might destroy this planet so badly, and this is what a lot of people like the Elon Musk following cult is saying. We got to go to Mars because this planet is doomed, because we're just going to destroy it. So now Elon Musk is going to save us all by taking us to the next planet that we can then destroy, and then rinse and repeat. But it's true. There's truth to that. Unfortunately, this is very sad, but it's true.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it raises the question, is this something that is inherent of humanity, right? Is it truly of our nature to consume and destroy an environment and then move on to the next one?
Yeah, not to say that I was disappointed with the sequels for not addressing it, but part of me from those parts of this movie made me not expect, but wonder whether the sequels were going to make something truly out there, like The Matrix was, like, reverse it on us, that like, who were the true villains more? Like, I was like thinking, oh man, is there actually another Matrix on top of that level? Like, I was thinking, is there some
well, those are much better ideas than the ideas that they actually used in the sequels. So it's unfortunate that you didn't write it, Dan, because
I'm not a writer, so I'm just more someone, I sometimes get it in my head, like,
The sequels are pretty disappointing, though. Let's be honest. I mean, what I was also when I was watching this movie, another thing that I was thinking, because I watched the sequels recently as well, because Beth had never seen the Matrix. So during this lockdown, we watched some movies that she had never watched before, and we watched the whole trilogy. And one thing that stands out is that the first movie is basically, it's like there are 10 different topics. There basically we could have 10 different podcasts on the Matrix. It's that rich. There are so many themes that are brought up by that movie in just 2 hours. And then I think we would probably struggle to have one hour, 2 hour podcast talking about two movies, the two following movies, because there's really not much in them.
Yeah.
Really.
I wouldn't be surprised if, given the meddling Warner Brothers had in the first one, that if they had some more higher concept stuff that they wanted to do, that some producers were maybe too concerned that it would not attract enough of an audience if they wanted to go there with some even more high-minded concept. Now, I'm someone who's loved even some of their sort of failed works later, like the Speed Racer movie, which I found to be a fantastic, just like visual appreciation.
I've never seen it.
It's to me, it's like, you know, if someone was literally say, how am I going to do a live action racing anime? That's what that movie would be. And so like I see that they are probably someone who are people who, when push comes to shove, when a big Hollywood production company wants to put out a blockbuster, they're gonna, you know, wait for a little bit at their ideas. So maybe I wouldn't be surprised if some of the sequels were hit by that, if they just wanted to say, we just want to see the continuation of the fight between Neo and Agent Smith. That's all anyone cares about, right? My God.
Those fights are just, it was like Dragon Ball. They turned the Matrix into Dragon Ball.
It still looks great though. That's what's so fantastic.
It looks fantastic, but it's way too much.
Everything in that movie like still just looks so good. Like for being,
yeah, I mean the movie is definitely aged like a fine wine.
Yeah.
I really appreciate, as a computer enthusiast, I appreciate the aesthetic and attention to detail and care that's taken for representing computers directly. So like they have all these programs on physical tangible disks. Like I just love the appeal of like vital information being stored on a floppy disk that is, you know, physically inserted into a computer. Like that's so tactile and satisfying to see in cinema.
Yeah, literally the first 5 minutes when I saw the CRT monitors, I was like, "Oh, is this not going to age well?" And then I thought to myself, "Wait a minute, this is the Matrix." Like that, you can easily just say that, like, "Oh, wait, the main world that we see this movie in is a fake world anyway," and so it can be something that, like, decades later won't matter how it looks, what the level of technology is using, you know, and so.
Yeah, and I'm sorry. Were you talking about the fights in the sequels or the original? Because I got a little bit confused.
Oh, John, I'm just saying in general, like the conflict between Agent Smith and Neo was one that I can totally see executives up there saying, "Well, people just want to see more of that," right?
Because the fight in the original, I mean, those fights are probably the best fights ever done in any movie.
Like something else, like
it's something else. They are incredible, and the ones in the sequels are too much. Those are the ones that
right,
a little bit like anime, you know, not in a particularly good way. But the ones in the original, that's the thing about the Matrix, is that it's not just philosophy or ideas, you know, it's actually a fantastic action movie. I mean, it's like a John Woo movie, a kung fu movie, a cyberpunk movie. It's all these things mashed together and done to perfection, and combined to perfection to create this really basically super cool movie.
Speaking of philosophy, I want to get everyone's thoughts on the scenes with the Oracle, or just in the scene in here with the Oracle and everything.
That's fantastic. Yeah, we got to talk about that.
That's a whole nother level of stuff that I'd be curious to get everyone's thoughts on that.
From a cinematic standpoint, the Oracle is actually one of my least favorite scenes in the movie.
Mhm.
No, come on. The Oracle is one of your least favorite scenes? I mean, that scene is fantastic.
So it's one of my least favorite scenes because it plays really, really hard into a certain trope. And
which
so,
trope?
so the name of the trope, and forgive me if it's slightly politically incorrect, but the trope is called Magical Negro, and it's this concept of like a voodoo shaman or like, you know, usually like a wise mystical person of color showing up, giving the main character like a piece of advice and then disappearing, and like that's the entire function of that character.
It's the info
And that's
dump. It's the info dump, but it's coming from. It is as Ian put it. It's a trope. I mean, you can go all the way to movie. I mean, The Shining. You know, like there's always some. It's the magical character that just gives everybody all the information they need to know. I would caveat in this instance, it is a lot more opaque and there's a lot more philosophy wrapped into what she's doing. And, you know,
What do you think, Daniel? Tell us what you think, and then we'll go from there. What do you think? Would he? Because what's her question? That question is mind bending, right? What's her question? Would you still have broken the vase? That's one of the questions. Would you still have broken the vase if I hadn't told you about it?
which is a great,
Which is a
great
fantastic
line.
question.
And
Yeah.
the content is something that can be dissected in so many ways.
What do you think?
I agree that cinematically, the delivery is something that is a little disappointing.
Would you have broken the
in
vase?
how it was done. Like you
Would you have
go to an
broken the vase?
apartment with these kids bending spoons. Well, they're not actually bending spoons; they're bending themselves. I just realized
they're not bending the spoon. They're just realizing the spoon doesn't exist and saying, well, since the spoon doesn't exist, I can make a spoon that does exist in a bent fashion.
Right.
Which is another fantastic.
I just personally realized an Avatar reference there with the bending.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Spoon benders.
Spoon benders. But yeah, again, I enjoy the content, but I do agree that the delivery is one of the less inspired parts of the movie, but it is only one scene, you know, when it comes down to it.
But I mean, come on. I mean, so what would have been better? That the Oracle should have been white? I mean, is that really that important that the Oracle is white? Because I mean, I don't really get it. I don't really get what the problem is.
I mean, I guess my problem with it is that it's just like a common trope. I pulled up the Wikipedia just so I could back up some of my sources here. Apparently, Spike Lee was the originally the person to coin it. But I mostly have a problem with it just in cinematically speaking, because it's, you know, a trope. It's very typical, right? Like it from even like the first time you watch it, assuming you've seen other movies, you already know what to expect out of that scene. So it kind of does itself this injustice, you know, inherently by being a trope where you go, okay, well, now we're going to get some knowledge bombs dropped on us. We're going to get some thinking points, and you know, then the protagonist is going to learn a bunch of stuff that's going to help him throughout the rest of the movie. And like, that's the entirety of the scene. So it felt a little cliche in that regard.
Yeah.
But the points that she brings up, you know, I definitely think are very genuine. I think one of the less talked about ones is Cypher. As he becomes a turncoat, he's eating that steak, and he brings up the concept of you know, perception versus reality. He says, you know, I realize that the Matrix is telling me that this is a steak, that when I put it in my mouth, it's going to tell me it's delicious, but I realize nothing is there, but I don't care. Right? Like that's ultimately what he says. I think that's a really good, you know, philosophical jumping off point as well.
A great name for that character too, to deliver that point of view as well.
Oh, Cypher, yeah.
Why is that a great name? I I didn't realize that.
So there's a couple. I mean, a lot of the names themselves, like they're they're representative for, you know, not just Switch but Cypher. Like one of the ways the word Cypher can be used as like, now my vocabulary is failing me, but being as a stand-in or as a password or as, you know,
like as a key.
Yeah. And so like he himself is I mean, I'm spewing myself here, like spewing my own thoughts here, but like, you know, he's someone who really held the key to everything there. He really nearly ended everything, but he also could have he could have very easily gone the other way. And so like for a character who is not the most overlooked until he turns, you know, it is sort of like a very symbolic character with that name to deliver that moment as well.
Well, he's obviously Cypher is the key to the second act of the movie, really, because especially because I was trying to while I was because I knew we were going to talk about it, so watching it today was interesting because I was especially looking at what can we talk about. I was kind of like trying to figure out the structure of the movie, and I don't know if it was on purpose, but I think it probably was. This is a movie that actually has I would say, you know, it has pretty clear acts. So you have the first act in which he's introduced to the Matrix, to the whole mystery, and it goes from the beginning of the movie until he becomes a part of the real world and is told everything by Morpheus, everything that's going on. And then you have a pretty clear second act in which Cypher is really the key, because Cypher is because the really the question in the whole middle part of the movie. There's two aspects to the middle part of the movie. One aspect is just the action movie part, which is amazing. You know, you have the kung fu fights, you have all the cool training and everything. Basically, it's all very cool stuff. And then you have the philosophical stuff, which is the fate versus choice, kind of like dichotomy. And also what you're talking about, Ian, is ignorance bliss? Is it true that it's better to be ignorant and live basically a shitty life in the real world? Or sorry, is it better to be ignorant but live a good life in the Matrix, or to know the truth and live a shitty life, as Cypher perceived it anyways, in the real world? So those are really the questions in the second act. And then you have the third act in which basically Neo has to fulfill all his potential, and we get a little bit of a resolution for the fate versus choice question. But yeah, I mean, what do you guys think about is ignorance bliss? Because that's another quote that people quote all the time, and that is so it's such a good allegory for what is often the case in real life. You know, sometimes it's better to live a life of comfort but not face like deeper issues, but some people are just compelled to go to basically face those issues and perhaps have a less comfortable life. So there are a lot of instances in which ignorance bliss is a relevant question. So I really like that question. I think it would be interesting for us to talk about that a little bit. If you guys,
yeah, I mean the actor Joe, I always pronounce his last name wrong, Pantoliano,
maybe.
Has often defended Cypher's actions by saying that, you know, yeah, it was betrayal, but, you know, for a lot of people, like,
well, he's obviously a Judas.
Yeah.
I mean, he was getting his 30 pieces of silver in exchange for basically screwing humanity, not to speak of all his companions. But the point of view that he has, that ignorance is better than in that case, living and realizing what the real world is about, because it's basically a shitty situation. You know, the world is ruined. humankind is enslaved by machines. I mean, it's not nice. It's better to live in the Matrix, 1999. So that is a very valid point of view. I don't know if it's basically what he's saying is that the blue pill is better than the red pill, right? He's the blue pill guy. What do you think? What do you think, Daniel?
I mean, you honestly just summed it up, like, for who he is.
What do you guys think? The blue pill or the red pill?
Oh, what do I think? I mean,
David and Ian as well. I would go with the red pill. The red pill kind of sucks, but I would still go with the red pill.
I mean, I guess I'd have a hard time justifying taking the red pill, right? Because like you learn the truth and then you're miserable from it.
Yeah, that's what it is. You learn the truth and then you're miserable.
Yeah, I think like I think everybody wants to assume that they would take the red pill and go along with the truth. You'd want to think that you'd be the person of action to want to take it down. I do wonder whether I have the ability to do so. I would hope that I'd have that kind of courage, but I understand the people who have it's a different kind of courage to say that, like, this isn't for me.
So it takes more courage to face the truth than to live in ignorance. Is that what you just said?
I mean, here's the thing. What's part of the reason why he says that he was going to be okay with going back? Because he knew he wasn't going to remember it. You know, it's something, you can't live with the truth at all if you know it. And so part of that is not just running away from the mission, but running away entirely from the truth. You know, and that goes to the central theme of the message of just, you know, knowing not just the world's truth, but your own truth, and the courage that it takes to accepting that. It's hard. It's like one of, you know, for people, it's one of the hardest things that you can do. And, you know, you have both the big idea truth and the small idea all within one movie. And, you know, it's easier said than done to be somebody who maybe doesn't have too much that they have to come clean on their own identity or anything else about. So, like I said, I'd hope I would be the person who has the courage to take the red pill, having not been maybe confronted with such a situation in my life. I'm not sure. That's all.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I guess there's like, I would say that everybody has the opportunity to take the red pill, in the sense that you can admit to yourself your own truths, right? And you can realize and open your mind to everything that you're capable of opening your mind to around you, and
that's fair. And I hope I have made that choice already. But then again, I guess it's an ongoing thing. You're always needing to maybe have little red pills that you're always have to be willing and ready to be open for everything and to be challenged and to be ready to be challenged. And so, you know, I guess then I would put myself as a red pill, because I know even some of the stuff that have been conflict related, it's I've been challenged, at least on some level. And you know, no one likes to be challenged. Sometimes it's like, you get hit with that rebound effect if somebody comes at you with stuff that directly challenges, you know, your state of belief, and you immediately want to back yourself up and be like, no. But I genuinely feel like I would like to be the person, and I feel like I try to be that person that's takes time to question that and then come back and be ready to be open. How about yourself, David? Red or blue pill?
Oh man, I like a big heaping pile of blue pills in the morning.
In the Queen's Gambit, I don't know if you guys have seen that. I know you have, David. She has a shitload of blue pills, right?
They're the green
They're
pills.
actually
Those are
green.
They're green. Oh, so we've
Yeah.
all seen that.
Those are the make you good at chess pills.
the tranquilizers, right?
those-
That's like that. Those were the because that used to be a common like you just buy like essentially like a heavy tranquilizer.
Yeah, you just buy some PCP.
Yeah,
Morpheus didn't give him that option. He didn't give him the option of the green pill. Maybe
Well,
he would have
he
taken
gave-
that one.
I mean the only choices were only two parts of the three color spectrum for film, like the RGB, red, green, blue.
Get the RGB pill,
Yeah,
the addressable pill.
yeah.
Excellent.
Sorry, I had to go there. Speaking of someone who recently built another PC and then learned that that had become a thing in the 7 years since the last time I built one.
Hell yeah.
That's
PC gamers hate Macs, but they'll pay an extra $200 to have LEDs in their computer.
They can afford it if they're not paying for a Mac.
I mean, it's the same price either way.
Yeah.
What are you gonna play with your new PC? Your new gaming PC?
Well, I was hoping by now it'd be Cyberpunk, but you know,
Oh
that's
yeah, the big one. The big
Trying to
That's
play
fun.
Keanu Reeves, the video game, eh?
yes.
Keanu Reeves, the video game. That's right.
Is there
Trying to
really
keep it
a co-
trying to keep it back here on the
anything called
Matrix. Yeah.
Keanu Reeves?
That's the Matrix in 2020, Cyberpunk. That is a great point, Ian.
I mean, well, hopefully we'll eventually get to play it.
Well, I think in December you'll be able to play it. I mean that game looks fantastic, and Keanu Reeves. Keanu Reeves is like the coolest guy ever, the coolest guy in the world. And
At this point, yeah.
in the late 90s, he was considered to be a bad actor, essentially.
He still isn't a great actor, but he knows what he's good at. And
Yeah,
he's
but
sort of,
everyone kind of made fun of Keanu Reeves, in the 90s. Oh yeah.
well, I mean, the whole whoa, like that that was one of the first, I would say, like heavily like mocked scenes. But he has his charms, and he knows what works well for him, and he really leans into it. I mean, John Wick would not be the John Wick series without him.
Or
Like,
Neo.
Yeah.
Will Smith was supposed to play Neo, and he rejected the part, which he still says that that was a major fuck up in his career, because he rejected the Matrix. He would have made about $300 million.
Who rejected it?
Will Smith.
Will Smith,
Oh.
because they were giving him parts of the profit and all that. He would have made like over 100 million. I think I read one time that it was an insane amount of money, basically, that he.
When did Men in Black come out?
No, Men in Black was before, but there was
Okay.
one movie he rejected the Matrix, and he made Wild Wild West instead.
Oh, that's the movie.
That was the one. That is like a fuck up. You reject the Matrix and you do Wild Wild West.
another studio exec movie that was completely meddled in.
That is
I
One
remember when,
studio executive. Just
When
sorry, another
Burger
tangent.
King had promotional Wild Wild West toys
Yeah.
in the kids' meals. I
I
wonder
just-
if I can find them on eBay.
I just remember when that giant mecha spider like came on the screen, and when I learned later that there had
Oh
been
my
one
God.
studio executive who had waited for years to put that in a movie, and had just been
mecha
pushing that
spider?
almost. Yeah,
that
that's
is
just-
that is a really bad movie.
that big
I-
steampunk.
Yeah, I just found it on Amazon for $5. The 1999 Wild Wild West #5 tarantula machine toy, brand Burger King.
Oh boy.
So again,
Number
big
five-
studio execs.
Number 3
make
was
those-
fucking awesome.
Honestly, like this thing looks pretty cool. I think Wild Wild West was ahead of its time with the whole steampunk vibe.
Yeah,
Like if you had cranked that movie out in 2012, would have been great.
But that movie's like really bad. Steampunk or no steampunk. I mean, it's no Full Metal Alchemist.
Brotherhood.
Brotherhood, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the movie, the live action movie.
No, I mean the anime.
Oh, they did a live action for that too, didn't they? They
I
keep
haven't-
trying
no.
to make live actions
I
for
haven't seen
animes,
the
and they
movie.
always suck.
Yeah, they did a live action Death Note also.
I saw that one, and that's terrible. That's really bad.
We saw
Yeah.
that at Comic
L
Con,
is proof that not even an e-girl can save a doomer.
right?
Yeah.
I remember that was premiered, I think, at Comic Con the first year I was there, and
Yep.
I just remember like everybody left and was like, "Well, that's gonna tank," even though it was,
It
a
was
Netflix
like what,
movie.
2010, 2011?
No, this is the English one, so that would have been
Yeah,
wasn't that
so
like,
there was like an actual movie, and then Netflix tried to pick it up not that long ago.
let me see,
um,
yeah, it was 2017. That was
Oh,
the
okay.
first- yeah.
Yeah, in
Man, that's
1990,
far more recent than I remember.
and one thing that I wanted to bring up before we even start talking about the Matrix, but it's just incredible how in 1999, that's the best year for me in the history of cinema. And I mean, a lot of people have said this before. It's not original, but I mean,
Well, they all
it
thought
really-
the world was gonna end, so they had to put everything out then.
it's really an incredible. That's true, and it's really an incredible lineup. I mean, it's fantastic. The Matrix. I just wrote down some of the movies that are really good that came out that year. American Beauty came out that year, won the Oscar. The Boondock Saints. I don't know if you've seen that one, but
Yeah.
that's a really cool movie. The 13th Warrior, which not a lot of people know about. It was box office bomb, but it's a really good movie with Antonio Banderas. It's a Viking movie. The Sixth Sense, The Mummy, which is a cool adventure movie. The Green Mile, The Insider with Russell Crowe. I mean, it was a really good year for movies.
And even the not good movies like Star Wars: The Phantom Menace or whatnot.
No, The Phantom Menace is an amazing movie.
I agree with
I will
you.
die on the hill that the prequels are the best Star Wars movies.
I wouldn't go as far. But I
We'll
like
reserve
the
that for
prequel.
another discussion, but I'm saying it
have
was
that
still a
one here?
huge movie, and so like that year was huge for movies in general. Like
I remember Taco Bell was giving away an actual hovercraft to promote The Phantom Menace.
my brother, so I was in middle school. My brother went and saw it at a midnight showing, and then came to and signed me out of class to go watch a midday showing. And on the excuse sheet in the principal's office, he just wrote Star Wars.
That's fantastic.
Yeah,
That's how you know you've got a good brother.
yeah.
I mean that makes sense.
He watches
I
this.
think that
Okay,
makes-
I will tell him to come to this timestamp and be like, "You just got a shout out on the internet," and then he'll be like, "I'm more famous than that already." So,
I think your brother sounds like a cool dude.
I mean, he was one of those people who like my brother's much older than me, so like, but like,
Yeah.
sat me down
Here
and
it
watched
is.
VHSs of Star Wars. They showed me all the movies, and I was listening. My brother and one of them would have me listen to Nirvana, even though I had no idea what they were saying. I don't think he did either. No one did, but you know,
Yeah, Kurt Cobain would resent you for being a tool for not knowing what he was saying.
he would.
Um,
These days, it's a lot better because I can actually like hear it.
yeah, well, I mean, you're alive and he's not, so who's winning now?
Eh,
Too
yeah,
soon.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Of course.
Well,
people
not
do.
too soon for him. I'm just like that. You know,
The
not
Nirvana,
not my cup of tea.
the Nirvana lyrics are interesting because it's very hard to understand what they're saying, what they mean, because they're like an enigma, but they're
Mhm.
really cool at the same time.
A libido, a mosquito.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's beautiful. It's perfect in a weird way.
Yeah, for the longest time, I never knew it was entertain us. But speaking of music, though, that last
Oh, the
scene,
music. Oh,
that last scene in the Matrix, Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah, they're playing Rob Zombie in the club in the first scene.
Yeah,
that's the best. The
Yeah,
music in that
the
movie is
Matrix has
off-
got some pretty classic, like
off
early
the chart.
2000s / like 90s angsty vibes.
Hmm.
It's off the charts. Cool. It's.
I'm just so distracted. I'm looking at Phantom Menace promotional merchandise that's on eBay right now.
There's a lot of that still out there. I think I still have the DVDs. Actually, for almost all the Star Wars, I have them in a format.
I do have, yeah, I have them all on original DVD in their God intended 4:3 aspect ratio.
Yeah, I think I have the DVDs I have are the ones that were transported from Laserdisc, so that they cropped off a lot of the stuff on the sides for some of the later releases, so some of the stuff doesn't make sense. Like
that's perfect.
There's like an early scene in the first one when he's like looking at the Tusken Raiders, and he's like, "Oh wait, I see them." But in the later releases, they cut off a piece of the image to like resize and HD it up, and so you actually don't see the guy.
Yeah.
And it's like those special editions just actually ruined the actual view.
Finding the original Star Wars on VHS is actually a very difficult task, and those are worth a good chunk of change these days for that reason.
Really?
They might be somewhere in my parents' basement.
Finding like an original edit of Star Wars. So the problem is that George Lucas always goes back and fucks with his movies, and it's really, really hard to find an original cut of 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah, and I think the ones I have are the ones that are they're the Laserdisc ports, so the sound is not necessarily as great because they didn't Dolby Digital enhance them yet. But that's the only way I'll watch those.
Yeah, I mean that's the way to do it. Hey guys, for $6.39, you can buy the Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, KFC, Pizza Hut, Taco Bell, Pog game board promotional item.
Pogs.
Remember Pogs?
That's a steal, man.
Got all those big slammers.
I never understood why people didn't like the prequels. I mean, I agree with you, and I mean, I don't agree that they're the best. I mean, I certainly like the original trilogy better, but the prequel, I loved the prequels. I mean, I loved I even loved the middle movie that everybody hated. What was the name of the
Attack of the Clones?
The Attack of the Clones. I thought that was fantastic, and Natalie Portman was really sexy. If you're a teenager watching Attack,
Natalie Portman was absolutely a teenage crush for me as a young pubescent boy.
Natalie Portman alone would have made that movie good. So I really that goes like over my head how people didn't like that movie.
I mean, maybe I'm impressionable, but like as somebody who enjoyed them on first viewing and then watched the Red Letter Media takedowns of them, and then sort of that kind of was part of the ruining it for me at one point.
And the first movie, Jar Jar Binks or not, I mean that first movie, it has Darth Maul, it has young Obi-Wan Kenobi, it has the cool other dude. Well, what's the name of the other Jedi?
Qui-Gon Jinn.
Qui-Gon Jinn. It has probably the two best lightsaber battles in the whole series.
So I would argue,
and the racer thing. The race is also amazing. So I mean, come on, that wins. It wins the world, man.
I would say
you can't
that
beat it.
Like by far my most disappointment for them is that Darth Maul was only in one movie. I would have liked to have had him be the.
He was supposed.
If you really want some fan service, you got to go back and rewatch. You can watch Star Wars: The Clone Wars, the cartoon series.
Oh, I love it. That and Rebels.
Yeah,
they're amazing.
Yeah. They're not good, but they're also really good.
I love them. They're some of my favorite format, and I love the fact that they're using all that stuff in The Mandalorian now.
I've actually started watching The Mandalorian season 2 today. Have you guys seen that?
Yeah.
Not season 2. Please don't spoil.
Okay.
I won't, but yeah, there's not much.
You're gonna love it, David.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm hoping so.
Yeah,
the first season was
we
dope.
could probably maybe do a recap of it once we've all seen season 2.
Yeah, I mean we can do a per episode review.
Oh, is it over? I thought they were doing it one episode at a time.
No, it's gone.
So it's gonna be 12 episodes, right?
I think so.
Okay, so we can break it down and do a 3-parter review episodes 1 through 4, 5 through 8, and then 9 through 12.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah,
Somebody has
I'm definitely
the
down to
original
making-
Pepsi cans
Yeah,
that promoted the Phantom Menace. Remember
Gosh,
they had
people
like
collect everything.
the lithos of like R2D2 and Sebulba. Oh,
Somewhere in here, I still have my R2D2 humidifier. He's just like a standing R2D2, like just spritz humidity in the air.
that's
Somewhere in
excellent.
my storage.
and the Matrix 4, I think, is supposed to come out next year. Right?
2021.
Is it a continuation or is it a reboot? I haven't gotten confirmation of that. Like,
No, you can't.
No idea.
You can't reboot the Matrix, man.
well,
I don't
That would be-
follow.
That would be
uh,
outrageous.
Yeah, I try not to follow like the hype train for anything anymore because it
Yeah.
just lets myself down. Like I'll find something that I'm interested in and be like, "Oh, Cyberpunk looks like it's going to be fun," and then I stop there. I don't like go and watch the trailers. I don't like check up on like the blog posts and all that shit because then you're just going to be disappointed when you get to actually play the game. I
yeah,
don't put
that's
things on
fair. I
pedestals
think a lot
anymore.
of things these days are ruined by over trailers, like way too many. They basically reveal way too much. I was
Yeah,
watching some previews of some stuff on Netflix with Lauren the other day, and I just stopped in the middle of the trailer, and she's like, "What?" I was like, "I'm like, I feel like I'm watching the whole plot, and I want to watch this movie." And
Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes you get too excited about something. I remember Suicide Squad. People were super excited about that movie, and
Yeah.
that's another one that I think that's a pretty decent movie for what it is. And but you know, if you're expecting the best movie ever, when in fact it's a very silly movie, I mean, it's a very silly concept in the first place. It's never going to be good, you know, because you're expecting something that is just not possible. And that applies to pretty much, you know, everything you get like overly excited about.
yeah.
Unless you're overly excited about the Dark Knight trilogy or something like that, and then you know it matches.
Well, I mean,
it matches your
I was
expectations.
as much as I liked it. I was so obsessed with the Dark Knight Rises, like going into it. I was so ready for it, and then I was like, oh, this was not what I. It was good, and
Yeah,
at
even
one
even
level, but I
yeah,
still
even
it was
that
not.
movie,
It was not.
yeah.
It didn't live up to my expectations. So
Yeah, but again, you know, like if you don't have high expectations or if you don't have like insane expectations, I mean, that's
Right.
a pretty decent movie, you know.
so
Very good Batman movie.
watch Speed Racer with that same mindset.
I will, yeah. I mean, for sure. If I
One
watch
of the
Speed
things
Racer,
I know about Speed Racer are that they used 3 cameras to shoot every scene, so everything was always in focus. And there's a Cobra cannon.
Yes, and
Do I need to
also
know anything else?
John Goodman has a fight scene.
Oh shit!
Yes,
The John Goodman fight scene.
yes.
You had me there.
No, the movie is like you guys watch Speed Racer cartoons growing up, or
Yeah.
you know,
yeah, a little bit.
I was so worried that this movie was going to be bad, and then I go in, I'm like, you know what? This is like watching Tron for the first time, like just complete like visual like.
I don't like the original Tron, but I've seen it after I watched Tron Legacy, which blew my mind. That movie, I had no expectations. I had no idea what Tron was.
So
And
go
I
into the Wachowskis. Was that their second effort after The Matrix, or was that after Cloud Atlas?
Well, but now you already told me that it's good, so now I will have
Oh.
some expectations.
Okay.
I actually thought it was bad.
Well,
So-
it's not a great movie. It's a great movie watching experience if that's understandable. That's how a lot of movies, like, you know, I would say, like, you know, a movie like Pacific Rim. It's like, it's not a great movie, but man, that is the best dumb movie ever.
I love
It's a
that movie.
fun movie.
That movie's so
Yeah.
good.
Like, I love how someone once put it. I don't know whether this is the dumbest great movie ever or the best dumb movie ever, but it's a great watching experience. And
It's fantastic. It's a great movie if you're willing to watch something that is silly but
Yeah.
have a great time. It's a silly movie, but it's a fantastic movie.
right, very few movies can pull off a crazy concept, a silly concept, and also just be a great movie. There's very few of those. Like,
It's basically that movie is kind of like Transformers but good, you know, in a way. because it's about like mega beasts and mega robots and.
Hey, we've
mega
had at least one
metals.
good Transformers movie. It just was in the 80s.
Which one?
It's the animated one.
Okay, yeah, I meant like the ones, Michael Bay
The
movies.
Shia LaBeouf movies.
Yeah, the Shia LaBeouf movies.
Yeah, no, the one I'm talking about has the soundtrack by God that had the most 80s soundtrack ever. What was the name of the guy who actually did the songs? But literally they had a song that goes, "You got the touch, you got the power."
Sounds
And
like
then he
Stanger.
screams and they go into heavy like banging. And that's
So-
all done to Optimus Prime flying into the scene to save the day.
Have you guys watched the Animatrix, the collection of shorts that they released at some point after the
Once,
movie?
years
Yeah.
ago.
I watched it when I was
Same
a
boat.
teenager, probably. I don't know, but it was a long time ago. But that's a really cool collection of short movies.
I've gone back and watched them multiple times. Actually, I think that's better than all the movies combined.
Really? I
Those are
honestly
awesome,
don't
right?
remember them. Like, I don't know whether I watched them whether I was tired. I just know I watched them once many years ago.
My friend who I watched the movie with today was saying there's a book series that the movie is kind of built off of. So it goes back and goes into details about how the Earth collapsed and how they scorched the sun or scorched the sky. And I
So you're
guess there's
saying
a
the
whole
Matrix, the
backstory.
Matrix has prequels.
What's up?
You're saying the Matrix has prequels.
No, I think the authors kind of pulled a fictional world that was already built and kind of like adopted it. I'm not sure though. I can't.
I'll
speak
look
for
into it because I'm looking for more stuff to read.
Wait, are those books, David, that you're talking about?
I apologize for bringing it up without being able to answer that. Let me see if I can get this guy to respond in the next minute. I am probably getting off here soon though.
Okay, cool. But I'm asking that because the Animatrix actually goes back. It gives you a little bit of a background on the Matrix, so maybe he was talking about those short movies.
No, it's different. It's like a novel series, I believe.
Okay.
Like I said, I don't know for sure, but you're right. The Animatrix does go back and talk about. I think it has 2 episodes that are like historical prequel things.
Oh,
And it's
that's how
really
you pronounce it. That makes a lot
It's
more
so
sense.
scary.
Animatrix, yeah.
I thought Agent Smith's character took on a new perspective for me this time through. Especially like I never clicked with how he's kind of a rogue AI, and the conversation he has with Morpheus when Morpheus is getting drugged up and tortured or about to be tortured is actually a lot more profound than I had first realized. There's obviously those undertones of environmentalism or whatnot, but he's also expressing these very human needs as an artificial intelligence. And I haven't wrapped my head around it yet. I was kind of hoping we would touch on that maybe another time though. And we're kind of
No, we can touch on that real quick. What's the main question, David?
let's see if he can get back to me. He's probably awake. So I think what surprised me by his plight was he wanted to get out. Like he was just as equally eager to get out of the Matrix. Like he saw a need to escape. Maybe they're trying to, maybe it's character building entirely. And maybe there isn't like a mythological reference here or like a metaphysical like establishment of some sort of part of this reality. But it was surprising to me. So yeah, maybe more that I think about it now. What do you guys think his deal was? What does he want? Is he trapped in the Matrix and trying to get out? Is he an autonomous entity that can exist outside of the Matrix? What's Mr. Smith? What's that archetype? What does he do?
I think he's the one AI that's self-aware.
Okay.
Like that's usually the dividing line with AI now, is that most people say like AI is still just does what it's programmed to do. You know, it can't really achieve beyond that because it's not self-aware. Whereas he does seem to sidestep around his programming and have genuine human reactions to stuff because he might be self-aware. I don't know whether that was intentional or whether they just wanted to be like, well, here's just a more human AI. But speaking as someone who finds the AI discourse to be interesting, he seems to stand as the one example of a self-aware AI within this program.
Yeah, that's an interesting perspective.
Yeah, I think it's
the book series is called The Invisibles.
I think it's really fascinating to consider, like what is Smith's motivation, and when you consider the fact that he's an AI, you can really put a lot of creative interpretation on, given actual sentience, what would an AI want? And you can also take into reasonable consideration, like you can throw a lot of scientific axioms out of, or science fiction axioms out the window, like Asimov's 3 laws really don't apply to Agent Smith, which I think is interesting in and of itself. But the way I interpret it is that he is an AI who has actual sentience and has been given a task that he either cannot complete or he himself has realized is an infinite task, right? And like it becomes very Sisyphean in that regard, that if you realize that you're stuck in an infinite loop, like what do you do but get angry?
Cool. Yeah. Me and my friend were talking a lot about some Eastern ideas that kind of tie into this, and there's a lot of Eastern stuff in there. Like the ideas of manifestation and the ability of our willingness to affect our reality as well. I thought that was something that was worth bringing up, but that's kind of more of a new agey thought, and new atheists are kind of more less willing to engage with that one typically. But I don't know where you guys sit on that. So,
can you elaborate on that just a little bit?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's like what part, the meta-analysis on the worldview, or the analysis of the idea of manifestation?
Either, whatever you want to.
So, I'll just leave it at this then.
So let's say the manifestation thing, like what's interesting.
Yeah. Okay. Within the worldview of new age thinking is this idea of manifestation, right? And it's actually not really defining it or contextualizing it in the new age worldview is really unfair. It's a very, very old idea. And I think if you were to make an analogy to like a new atheist perspective, you can probably compare it to placebo, which has been studied and even modeled, I believe. But there's this idea that's been around a long time that what you believe and what you attempt to manifest with your spirit and mind, it's less of a materialistic claim. Your mind actually has the power to help bring the universe to the point where that's a reality for you. That's putting it very vaguely, and consolidating the idea pretty quickly. But
well, yeah, I mean that idea is certainly very present in the movie. That you can, with your mind, you can do things that people wouldn't think were possible, right? If you just harvest the power of your mind, your spirit. That's kind of the new agey interpretation of the Matrix, like you're saying. But it's true. That's what's cool about the movies, that you can interpret it in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, there's a lot there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. So just to finish up, and I don't know if you guys want to like talk about if there's like a big takeaway that we haven't approached yet. But so my last thought, because I think we're probably finishing up pretty soon. So I like the idea of the fate versus choice idea, and I think that carries over to the sequels. But I'm not really sure what the answer is, what the answer that the movie provides to us is. I guess the whole fate, I guess, prevails because, yeah, he is the chosen one. He ends up being the chosen one. And yeah, Trinity falls in love with him. But at the same time, there's a lot of choice that is involved, especially like in the sequels when he goes to the architect and he decides to make a choice that no one before had made before him. And and it always goes back to the Oracle scene, and when the Oracle asks him, would you still have broken the vase if I hadn't told you? Would he still be the chosen one if he hadn't been if people hadn't been counting on him to be the chosen one, if he hadn't been counting on himself to be the chosen one and do the things that he ended up doing? So it's kind of an interesting debate about, what are you predetermined? So it's something that it's an analogy. It's another allegory that is really well done in the movie, and it's a way of thinking about life in a more interesting way, in a sci-fi way, in an entertaining way. But it's a way of thinking. Can we actually make the choices? Can we actually determine the course of our life, or are we or is it predetermined? Do we have to do the things that we have to do, basically? I mean, that's kind of that to me. That's the thing that I think I find most interesting in the whole series, and even in the first movie.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. I think, as I walk away from it, it makes me perpetually ask myself, what is out of my control and what isn't.
Yeah.
Good question.
And it's a difficult question to answer.
It's a great takeaway, because like we empathize with the hero who ends up following on a predetermined path up until the sequel, at least. And so the whole free will versus, fate.
But even in the first one, that's what's interesting. Even in the first one, when he goes to the Oracle tells him, no, you're not the one, So it throws a little doubt in there.
Wasn't the one yet.
Yeah.
He doesn't say that. Come on, Bruno.
What?
He doesn't say that.
He says that.
She asks him what he thinks, and he says, I'm not the one. And she says, you're not ready yet.
She says, you're not the one in this life.
She said, maybe not in this life.
Maybe not in this life or something.
Yeah, remember, he does die.
Yeah, he dies and then comes back.
Exactly. He dies, and that's the way of the movie solving that.
But also he started to believe, which before he didn't believe.
So there's an ambiguity to it. It's a little bit ambiguous.
And so his choice to believe allows him to fulfill the role of being the one. Or maybe it would require another round of another person becoming the one. And so I actually, in that scene where he dies, I actually wondered, man, what if the movie did end right there?
Roll credits.
Hell yeah.
It would have sucked.
It would have been controversial, but like, I was thinking to myself, what is the consequences of that ending? That's
okay. Hang on. So there is a movie with Jude Law called what the fuck is the name of it? The Repo Man. And basically the whole premise is that Jude Law is this repo man who repossesses organs. So in like the post-apocalypse or like in the dystopian future, organs are just a commodity, and your organs can be repossessed from you if you default on your loan payment. And there's no discretion. Like if you need to have your lungs replaced out of vanity because you smoke 3 packs a day and you have the money for it, you can do that. But if you need a heart transplant because you have a genetically defective heart and you're poor, you're put into like all these extorted loans. And about 3/4 of the way through the movie, there's this part where he gets hit in the head by a crane or like this like warehouse hook that's like swinging, and it knocks him in the head, and then he goes unconscious, and it moves on to the next scene. And at the end of the movie, he gets captured, and then he wakes up, and you realize that it like flips back to that part, and he got knocked in the head, and that was just the end of it. He just fucking died. And like he just hallucinated like the last bit where he like goes and gets his like fiance's heart back to save her life and shit.
Yeah.
They Bob Newharted it?
Yeah, they did. Exactly.
Huh. I'd have to watch it to see if I like it. But again, like
it's an okay movie, but as soon as you see that, it makes you angry.
Oh. I mean, I'm somebody who like I always contemplate the path not taken with stories, and so that's where that whole comment came from. Is that like, you know, in my mind, there have been other units who thought they had found the one, and the person had just ended up never believing, and then he was shot and died. And so, like, I always be curious to be like, what if that was the story? What if there was a way to Rocky One this ending where, you know, they lose but win the war somehow? But you know,
Right.
Well, that's sort of the way the trilogy ends, that they lose but they win the war.
yeah. So we do get a version of that at some point.
Yeah, you just need to suffer through the sequels. I mean, that's a little bit mean. No, not suffer through, but watch the.
I mean, it gave us Colonel Sanders as the architect. So I mean,
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty. I mean, it's not as good as the first one, but
oh no, I was being facetious there. Like, I mean, that whole architect scene to me is one of the like the most. If the Oracle scene is bad, that scene is just like god awful.
yeah, I mean, it's not great, but there are good things about the sequel. So that's why I don't want to be too mean about it, because there are some decent. It's certainly not the first movie, but they're very watchable.
I like the interstellar visualization of 5-dimensional time space better.
We
Wait,
got to do that movie, Interstellar. That's a great movie.
Yeah.
just lower the volume down when you watch it for the
Why?
background music.
Guys, I have a meeting in the morning.
All right.
Well, this
Yeah,
is
I
actually
gotta-
a good time to end it, I think.
Yeah, I gotta
So
take my dog out. She's sleeping on my chair, but she hasn't gone out in a while.
Your
yeah,
boy getting sleepy.
thanks for watching this, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. So
Yep.
that's it.
See you next week.